Dwight Eisenhower was the first president of the United States to attend the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, which was a minor entry on the president's schedule at that time and has since become a highly politicized event that every president feels compelled to attend. It is always an attempt by a president to demonstrate his religiosity, and no president has ever done a less credible job than Donald Trump. Here he is today.
As president, I will always cherish, honor, and protect the believers who uplift our communities and sustain our nation.
Really?
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Here is more from the president's teleprompter today.
My administration is also speaking out against religious persecution around the world, including against religious minorities, Christians, and the Jewish community.
Really?
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
The president created some controversy today when he said this.
Since the founding of our nation, many of our greatest strides, from gaining our independence to abolition of civil rights, to extending the vote for women, have been led by people of faith and started in prayer.
Twitter lit up with people noting that Donald Trump said that one of our greatest accomplishments was, quote, abolition of civil rights. The White House later released a transcript of the speech that included what the president actually said and what the White House says he was supposed to have said if he could just read a teleprompter correctly. According to the White House, the line was supposed to be, since the founding of our nation, many of our greatest strides, from gaining our independence to abolition, to civil rights, to extending the vote for women, have been led by people of faith and started in prayer. So you've got a choice to make, which I leave to you. Did Donald Trump deliberately say abolition of civil rights to thrill some, or perhaps many, or maybe most Trump supporters who like the sound of that? Or did the worst teleprompter reader in the history of the presidency simply make a teleprompter mistake? You get to make up your own minds about this, but having made enough teleprompter mistakes myself, I am just going to have to let he or she, who has never made a teleprompter mistake, cast the first stone on this one. But let's think about what the president just actually said there. All of our great strides, including the abolition of slavery and civil rights, were led by people who believed in God and prayed. But slavery was created and run by people who believed in God and prayed. And the treasonous war against the United States of America, led by Robert E. Lee and other Confederate generals, was led by people and fought by people who believed in God and prayed. The Confederate Army prayed for their success in killing anyone who fought against their right to own human beings. Today, the president found just one passage from the Bible in his teleprompter. It was, of course, from the New Testament. And it actually might be the only passage in the Bible that Donald Trump has publicly proved that he really believes in and really does try to live by.
As Jesus promises in the Bible, ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete.
It always worked that way for Donald Trump and his father. His father made him a millionaire in his own right when he was a little boy, long before Donald Trump started asking his father for money to bail him out of his losses in his Atlantic City casinos. Ask and you will receive seems to have been the golden rule between Donald Trump and his father. With other presidents, you could listen to these religion-filled speeches with a straight face because they had not already publicly proved that they don't believe the religious sentiments they were delivering. But with Donald Trump, here was the very last line that the White House speechwriters put in the teleprompter today for Donald Trump, the man of God.
And let us always give thanks for the miracle of life, the majesty of creation, and the grace of Almighty God.
Really? That's what you always give thanks for? Here is that same person answering the question, what are you most thankful for, Mr. President?
What are you most thankful for, Mr. President? For having a great family and for having made a tremendous difference in this country. I've made a tremendous difference in the country. This country is so much stronger now than it was when I took office that you wouldn't believe it. And, I mean, you see it, but so much stronger that people can't even believe it.
You're absolutely right, Mr. President. People can't even believe it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.